Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you stopped by today because today we are going to be doing another beginner's tutorial. This time around I'm going to show you how to sew in patterns on your fur fabric. So if you want something that has stripes or spots, or you just want to have the body of your creature fade from one color to the other, I'm going to show you guys how to do that. I figured this would be helpful for anyone that's like me and doesn't have a air paint sprayer to decorate their fur fabric. I just don't have the setup and they are kind of costly and a little bit hard to maintain. Now that isn't to say that I don't want or I don't like the idea of using an air paint sprayer. I have yet to try one. I just don't have the setup to make sure that I can do it safely because of the fumes and things like that. I live in an apartment and I know a lot of other people are probably in the same situation. So I normally just sew in my markings by using different colored fur fabrics. So this is the pattern that I'm going to use to start off with. I made multiple ones so we can do different markings. So basically, I'm going to fold it like this, and I'm going to sketch out where I want the markings on the body. This is the back of the creature, the belly, and kind of the stomach area. So this is mainly the body of like a dragon or a long creature. And I haven't made the rest of the pattern pieces because we're just going to focus on this part right now. So to make it easier, we aren't going to be sketching both sides and trying to make them match. We're just going to be doing one. So I'm going to fold it, and we're just going to sketch out on here what we want our fur markings to look like. Okay, so I think I'm going to start off with something that's very simple, but a lot of people probably think it's a little complicated, and that's to make a body where the colors naturally fade. So similar to how fur is on a wolf, usually it's kind of darker on top, and then the belly will be a lot lighter. So you want to have a way of fading it and adding different colors in between. So for this, I think we'll be using about 3 different colors. I haven't decided yet, but I think we'll go more natural with it. So we want the very top of our creature to be the darkest. So we need to outline where we want that dark fur fabric. And then you will also want your belly to be the lightest color. So I'm going to mark out where the belly is going to be white. I think white is the color we'll end up using. Doing this will also like make the body look more shaped and defined than it actually is. It's kind of an easy way of tricking the mind. And then the piece in the middle will end up being a color that's in between the two. So say we use white here and we use brown over here, we'll want to use like a khaki here. So I think I might refine this a little bit to make sure I like it. I'm just going to mess around with it because the back part looks a little bit off to me. Okay, so I messed around a little bit with the lines. I didn't change too much. I just kind of curved things a little bit more dramatically. So I kind of went up here, I pulled up here, went down, just kind of adjusted everything a little bit. So now that we have the lines drawn out, we're going to cut our pattern piece apart. So remember, we have it folded, so you're cutting 2 pieces at the same time. Okay, so this will be the middle. I honestly probably should have cut that last. Now I gotta hold these 2 pieces together really carefully. Okay, and then we have piece here, and the belly piece here, and on this side as well. So this will probably be the simplest one, where we have just 5 pieces of fabric. We're going to do dark, light, and white. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to cut out my fabric pieces real quick. Okay, so I have my fabric pieces all cut out. I decided to go with a nice dark color for the middle. This one does have some natural blending, and then the side pieces also have some natural blending where the tips are a little bit blackened, and the roots are also kind of more of a darker color, closer to the color of here, so it'll help it blend a lot better. And then of course the belly pieces are white. So pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to put these pieces together just the way they are laying out now. So I'm going to be sewing all of these lines. So it's really simple. It's just like 4 straight lines, or kind of straight lines. Now for sewing, normally I use something like this, just a nice thick thread and a basic needle that has an eye hole big enough for this thick thread to actually go through. But I'm going to try and use this. This is what I usually use in my sewing machine, and it's a lot thinner, but it's really strong, so I think it'll work really well for this, and I might just switch over to using this in general. So when it comes to sewing fur fabric, I find you don't have to be super picky on it. The fur kind of acts as a good buffer. It helps hide seams really well. So if you mess up a stitch, you don't have to undo everything. You won't notice any mistakes really, unless you like really do it loosely. But yeah, you just want to make sure that you're sewing it tight enough to where the seams don't show, but not too tight to cause wrinkles or anything like that. So I'm just going to keep sewing this until I get everything together, and then I'll show you a neat little trick to help blend the fabric in even more. Okay, so this is what our fur fade looks like right now, and honestly it's really good. I would most likely just use it the way it is, but I wanted to see if I could blend it in just a little bit more, so I'm going to mess around with my fabric markers. Now if you're going to do this, make sure that you don't use anything like Sharpies or permanent markers. Make sure that it's made for fabric, because otherwise it's going to bleed if it gets even just slightly wet, and it'll ruin your piece. So this stuff won't bleed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comb this a little bit more out of the way, kind of separating the colors. And I'm going to use this marker on the white. And I think this is the closest I have to the color that I'm working with. So I'm just going to kind of go like this. It's a little orange, so we might have to blend a little bit into the other fur, but that's not too bad. It'll add a little bit more of a highlight to it. After I get that, I'm going to end up combing it. And the markers stay wet fairly decently long, so you can actually comb and blend things together. But yeah, I'm just going to go over this, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the brown and the khaki. I'm going to use a brown marker and just try and blend everything together. Okay, and there it is after blending everything together. It did give a little bit more of an orange color to it, but I really didn't have a khaki that didn't have an orange tint to it, so it's not bad. I didn't expect the orange. I kind of like it though. But you can definitely tell that the colors are blended in a lot better now, because this is what it used to be like, kind of, with fur, and then this is what it is now. And so yeah, I really like the idea of using these as a substitute if you don't have one of those paint gun things. Okay, so the next type of markings that I want to do, I think I'm going to go with stripes. So it's going to be similar to what we did before, but you're going to have a lot more sewing involved. So I'm thinking I kind of want to do a tiger pattern. I'm not going to go super detailed with it, but we can start with like top stripes coming down. And I think I'm just going to kind of mark out a few first. And then we can add and change up the details. Now this is not the way to make actual tiger stripes. I'm just trying to figure out a good way to make tiger-like stripes. So it won't be like perfect. And all of these are going to be cut off basically. So you could even go more detailed. We can do these. And then after you have your stripes, you could also break it up to where the belly can be white and the top can be orange. So you'll have that to cut away as well. So this one's going to be a little bit more complex. Okay, so this is my final layout. And I took a few of the stripes out because I realized there's no point in putting them there because we need to add the legs later. So if you were making an actual creature, not just trying to make a pattern, you want to take into account where the legs are going to go, because there's no point in adding stripes or something there if it's going to get covered up. So save yourself the extra work. So these are where our stripes are going to go, and then, like I said, the belly is going to be white. So we're going to have to cut this as well. Now with something like this, you might want to number the stripes so you can keep track of them. So these are all these two are connected, so these will just be one piece, but I'm going down the order that they are and just giving them a number. That way if they kind of move around while you have your pattern pieces all laid out, you don't have to worry too much. It'll be easier to figure out where they went. So let's get these cut out. Okay, so I got everything cut apart, and this definitely shows how complex just something as simple as wanting to have the belly white, the back orange, and then to have black stripes. There's a lot involved in making fur markings like this if you want to sew them in. So I am going to be very careful to not mess this up so I can keep track of where all the pieces go, and I'm going to use these to cut out my fabric pieces. Okay, I finally got all of the pieces cut out, and I'm going to leave them laid out like this so I can keep track of where everything goes. Now, with so many different pieces, I'd highly recommend just kind of making it easier on yourself and starting off with, say, like pieces like this where there's a little hole and the stripe goes in there. Focus on sewing those. I think I have like 3 of those, and then I could work on connecting the orange to the black stripes, and then once the middle is done, you could work on the white, adding these extra stripes, and just kind of finishing up the framework of it. So that would probably be the easiest way to put this together without losing where you're at. So with this, what I'll end up doing is I'm going to tuck in the fur so it'll stay out of the way, and then we're just going to sew around this. I usually like starting at the very top and just working my way around and back up. And just like the other fabric, we're just going to sew exactly the same way. And then we're just going to go all the way around and pull nice and tight so we don't have any loose threads sticking out. And then once you're done, it'll look something like that on the back side. And then obviously it's such a small stripe you really can't see it. You could leave it messy when you're done, which I'll show you what it looks like completely done. But with this, if you want to get the stripes really detailed like how we have them cut out, you'll want to shave the fur down so you could actually see everything. So once we put all of this together, I'm going to end up shaving it. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, I really thought I could film this whole tutorial in one day and then edit it the next, but it is already the next day because all of these stripes took forever to sew, but I love how they look. And right now the fur looks like this on the back side. I haven't shaved it or anything. I really like this. The only problem is you can't see some of the stripes, so we are gonna shave it up and see how detailed the stripes get. So I'm gonna get that real quick and we'll do that. Okay, and this is what our fur looks like after shaving. For the guard on my shaver, I only used a 1/4 inch guard or a 6mm guard. So I didn't remove too much, so it's still really fluffy. But I removed enough to where you can definitely see the stripes a lot better. Okay, so we are on our final markings. I think since we did a fade and stripes, I think this time we're going to be doing spots. I figured it would be a little different. It's not too complex. I might try and do a spot inside of a spot, but we'll see. I know I want the back to be like a solid color. And then I think we're just going to lay out spots. Some of them will be connected to this, others won't. So I'm just going to kind of randomly go over here. I don't want to do too many or the sewing will take forever, but I want to do enough to where it actually looks good. And again, I'm going to avoid doing a bunch around where the legs would connect. So I think the leg would probably be here and here. Okay, so my marker is dying, but basically this is what I'm going to end up doing. Now, since we are going to be dealing with fur like with all the other patterns, you don't have to have your spots round if you don't want to. Oh, I forgot we were going to do a spot inside of a spot. Ooh, hold on. How about we do a really tiny one here, and we can do one here. So this will be this color, and yeah, you'll understand. Okay, so those are going to be our spots inside of a spot kind of thing. And basically, because your fur is really long, it acts as a kind of a buffer. You don't have to have your pieces round if you don't want to. You can have edges, which will make it a lot easier to sew it and to keep track of which direction the fur needs to be in. Because you all want the fur to go this way, so you don't want to accidentally sew a spot facing the other direction, or your fur is going to be kind of all matted and crazy. So I'm going to get this cut apart, and then I'm going to use it to cut out all my fabric pieces. I haven't decided the colors yet. One thing that will be a little bit tricky is cutting out all the spots, but you could either just keep cutting all of these and leave like little tracks in between the spots, or you can kind of bend your paper and cut that way, just get a little opening and then cut it the rest of the way. It really depends on how you want to cut these out, because if you do this method, you bend your paper and it might be harder to work with, but if you do like following the lines and kind of connecting everything like a puzzle, it could be a little bit more difficult to also trace as well. Okay, I cut everything out and it doesn't look as bad as the stripes, so I left it where the main body itself is just 3 pieces. So the first bit of sewing that I will probably do is connect all 3 of these together. It's kind of like a little jigsaw. And then I've got the spots laid out in the order that they need to be sewn on the body. So once these are together, I'm just gonna go in and sew these spots into place. So honestly, this will probably take a little bit of time, but it shouldn't take nearly as much time as doing the tiger stripes. So I'm gonna get that put together, and we'll most likely do the same thing and shave this one down too, so you can see the spots a bit better. But of course, I'll show you it before we shave it as well. Okay, so I got all my spots sewn into place. This is what the back side looks like, and then this is what we currently are dealing with on the furry side. So it actually looks really cool the way it is now, so I'm tempted to leave it, but I do want to see what it would look like if I did shave it. So honestly, if you wanted to do the spotting technique to kind of create this weird little like specklingness, because it's really not spots at this point, it's more of like a blendy kind of cool design, but if you want to make it more spotty, we just need to shave this down. Okay, and there we go. That's what it looks like shaven. You can see all the spots so much better. I like honestly both ways, but I really do like that you can see all the work that we did a lot more right now. So I went with white and lavender mainly because I wanted to do something a little bit more fantasy. The other 2 patterns were really cool, but we stayed with a lot of more natural colors with them, and I just wanted to show off the colors of lavender and just something a little bit out there. But honestly, doing these spots would work really well with maybe making like the markings on a baby deer, how their back is very speckled when they're very young. This would work really well for trying to attain that look. Okay guys, and these are all 3 of the fur patterns that we did today. I really like all of them. In fact, I think eventually each one is going to be used for a dragon. I really want to do a tiger dragon. I think that would be a lot of fun. I've never done anything with tiger markings before, and I think that would be really cool. So I will do that. I know this one might end up being turned into a wolf or a fox, but we'll see. Anyways guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I had a lot of fun filming it. This is something that I really haven't done too much of, but I definitely want to spend more time in making markings and stuff on the fur, because it's time consuming, but it's well worth it in the end with your piece, because you get so much more detail out of it. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!